You gotta do a recording on that, right?
Yes. Let's
Sure,
do a
no problem.
recording about the EV
Right,
revolution.
right.
It started about, what, 10 years ago or less. It's really started to pick up in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes. Well, the dawn of the EV, the idea of all electric automobile was
Yep.
not a new idea.
Right.
Citing that just right around the early 1905 or something like that,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
already some some form of EV vehicles, short
Yes.
distance EV vehicles available already.
Exactly.
One of the most famous ones that what's that? Who's that guy who does talk show?
Um,
Owns a lot of automobiles.
you're talking about the guy with a massive car collection.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the talk show host guy. But he has an Edison, one of the
Oh
early.
no, actually, he also has a baker.
He also has a baker. You're talking about Jay Leno.
That's right.
Yes, he's got a couple.
Baker is the one
Yeah,
that was made in the roughly around 1905 or
right,
1915
right.
times. Has has okay traveling distance. Runs
Yep,
on wet cells, meaning
yes,
that they're lead acid rechargeable large battery
yes,
cells.
yes.
Yeah, okay cruising distance, okay speed.
Mm-hmm.
When compared to horse, definitely way better than horse and carriages.
So you could probably put one together today for a
That's right.
reasonable money, but it wouldn't go very fast and it wouldn't go very far, but it might get you to work.
Correct.
It might get you to work and back if you lived in the city.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the biggest difference between the technologies used in Baker
Mm-hmm.
versus the ones that are so popular during the past 15 years
Yes.
are, in my opinion, are two things.
Yep.
A, the utilization of lithium technology-based battery packs,
Right.
which has much higher energy density, meaning that per when compared to the same weight and same
Yes.
size of batteries, the lithium ion battery types trumps lead acid wet cells by many times.
Yes.
So
We
with
are
that kind of
yes.
energy density, it means that you can travel further
Yes.
with charge. And yeah, that was primarily the difference. And
Actually,
of
I'm going to
course,
disagree with
the
you a little
other
bit here. I'm going to
they
disagree with you a little bit.
yeah,
I'm going to say
sure,
that certainly the technology has improved. The technology has changed. But remember, we
right.
still use lead acid batteries in forklifts, in golf carts. We're
That's
still
right.
using that technology today. I think that
That's
there's
right.
something a little more, shall we say, Kabbalistic going on.
What
Because
do you
the
think?
main difference, like I'm familiar with the Baker Electric, and
Right,
actually,
right.
believe it or not, when I was a child, there was a neighbor that had an extremely old one,
Hmm.
who drove it past my house.
Right.
And I'm not going to reveal my age, but this was an antique that was obviously
Right,
kept as a classic vehicle. But it was
nice.
definitely electric because it just went wishing by. You couldn't hear it.
Right, right.
But the main deal was that lead acid batteries are cheap. And all
Correct.
of those bakers, they came with two sets,
Right,
or at least it was optional. And what they
right.
would do is they would put one set of batteries on the charger,
That's right.
while the other set was in the car and you drove it. And then when you exhausted it and you got home, you could easily, if you wanted to go out again in the evening and not wait for the 12 hours that it took to charge up, you just put the
Right.
second set of batteries in there, and there was a very accessible hatch where
Mm,
the man of the
hmm.
house or the servant, because they were very expensive, they had servants in those days, would just lift them out and put them in. Now,
Right.
does that seem strange to you that electric vehicles today do not have that capability? Why is that? Why can't you just roll up your? I'm not going to mention the name. Let's call him Mr. T. Mr.
Right.
T's wonderful electric vehicle. Why can't you just roll up to a station? It doesn't, no, whatever kind of a station, and have the batteries swapped out, and a fresh bunch put in, maybe from an under the vehicle hoist, such as when they change your oil. You drive
Right.
over a hole, and there's a guy there, and he undoes something and takes out the battery, puts in the new one, and off you go in 5 minutes. What
Ideally,
is
that would
that?
be a good. That is actually a sage idea. There was a brief mentioning of something like
Oh,
that
there
in the
was a
past.
brief mentioning of something like that. Well, I'll tell you what there was. There was an immediate censoring of something like that because that serves the
Right.
people. That makes electric vehicles sensible, affordable, and also environmentally sustainable because then you can have the batteries at a central location
That's right.
where you can have a high voltage feed, where you don't have to have a 240 volt special adapter in your home for fast charging. It can all
Correct.
be centralized. It's much cheaper because industrial electricity feeds are much cheaper than individual house ones.
That's right.
Okay, and also those batteries can be charged at night
Hmm.
when the low when at the when the peak load period is over,
Right.
and the electricity costs are much less because we don't use electricity very much between 12 a.m. and say 6 a.m.
Hmm. Hmm.
So how come that system was never enacted? Well, I'll tell you why.
Right.
Because electric vehicles are not environmentally sustainable, they're not economically reasonable, and they're designed for the oligarchs that own their massive corporations. They're not designed to be a convenience or a use to you. That's
Hmm.
the difference, and that's what I object to them. Let's look at the model of Henry Ford.
Sure.
Henry Ford didn't come out with a $70,000 to $90,000 vehicle
Hmm.
in his day.
Hmm.
Was he? But he came out with the first gasoline powered vehicle for the masses.
That's right.
But everybody could afford it. It was dirt cheap. In fact, the price actually came down.
Oh,
In fact, a factory worker at the Ford plant. I mean, we can do the dollar conversions. I believe the initial price was $550,
right.
which was approximately 4 months' work.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know about you, but I don't make $90,000 in 4 months. Do you?
Neither.
So the electric vehicle that we're shown today as somehow something that we're needing to buy to save the planet is a lie. It's not sustainable. It's for rich people. It's for people who can afford to go around, showing off their
True.
virtue. And it's gonna cost them a lot of money because they're gonna have to get
Of course.
special equipment for their home.
That's
Oh,
right.
and by the way, if you live in an apartment or a townhouse, can you even own one?
Not that I'm aware of
You
up
don't have a
until this
garage.
moment.
Your car's in a parking lot. There's not even a plug in there.
That's right.
So what's this about? This is about financial manipulation and control. This is not about saving the planet. This is not about environmentalism. It's not about global warming. Those are all propaganda lies. There is no affordable electric vehicle, but there could be. And by the way, the Mr. T sells something for extremely high price, which is a piece of junk. What do you think about this situation?
Well, I think I am in agreement with you in regards to those modern day EV vehicles, especially the
Uh huh.
TE stuff.
Yes.
It's it's priced way beyond ordinary folks'
Right.
reach.
You have to have a single
It's meant.
family home with a garage to plug the darn thing
That's
in.
right. That's
Uh
right.
huh.
I mean, the older one, the one has a longer cruising range and all the
Right.
bells and whistles.
Yep.
I think it's called Model S.
That came to
Now, now it's
110,000
priced
Canadian.
about no, it's more than that. It's currently I think it's priced around 140K.
What the F? What the WEF is going on here? These are luxury
Well,
vehicles for rich people, and they don't even have leather seats. What?
eh,
Look, I have
I,
an acquaintance who bought one recently, and he tried to drive it to Edmonton
right,
for a summer trip. And the
right,
thing has got a GPS, guide on it, and
right,
it's got about 9 inboard CPU computers in it, and it
right.
calculates how fast you're going, how much electricity you're using, and the distance to the next charging station. And he was trying to get from Vancouver to Edmonton, and about halfway to the next charging station, the air conditioning suddenly cut off.
Mhm,
Well, this is in the Kootenays, and I don't know about you, but in the middle of the Kootenays, it's at least 30 to 35 degrees
right,
Celsius. And
right.
that's hot. And you don't got air conditioning, man? Oh my goodness. And they pushed the button and it just came up air conditioning disabled remotely.
Mm.
The car can't use its air conditioning because it would run out of juice before you got to the next charging station, and the car calculates that. And then when he got to the
Oh,
charging station, he had to line up with about 23 other idiots and wait for almost 3 hours to get his car charged.
mm. Pity.
And then on the next leg, the air conditioning went out again. I mean, what kind of car is that? They're sitting there like they're driving a 1950 Ford pickup, and the windows are all down, and they've got air blowing in their faces. I mean, my goodness, you might as well have a Model T. It's lunacy. It's nonsense. It's garbage. And they're not even
Well,
trying to make.
it's definitely, you as the owner and the driver, it seems
Yes.
like you're not in control. You're not in full control of the automobile that you think you are.
Ooh. Oh, you mean they could, if they don't like you, they could send a signal to your vehicle to
Yes,
suddenly speed
yes.
up to 120 kilometers an hour and smash into a
Could be.
wall,
Could be.
and,
Could
and and
be.
suddenly die in a fiery crash because
Could
of
be.
your social credit points have fallen too low, or maybe you became
Well,
a donator to some group the government doesn't like, and they've singled you out, and of course there's a database because you're on the
right.
cloud. You're identifiable in your electric vehicle, which is a smart vehicle. Oh, just like those people who had their air conditionings turned off in their houses in the United States
That's
because of a
right.
heat wave. So we can turn your car off. But maybe you're a
Well,
terrorist. Maybe we'll just speed the car up and kill you.
well, there has been sightings and reports from places in China where they already have the social credit systems implemented,
Yes.
citing that the EV vehicle owner,
Yes.
when he pull up to the charging station,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden he was refused to he was disallowed for recharging his automobiles because all of a sudden the cell phone app
That's amazing.
turned
I never heard of
red.
that yet. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, that is observation number one. Observation number two that I
Yes.
would like to point out is that last week, major California cities, the government says that because of heat wave,
Yes.
there's not enough electricity to support the power grid, meaning
Right.
that there would be imminent forms of either brownouts or selectively blackouts.
Right.
And the second day after that announcement,
Yep.
the government actually made another broadcast telling all EV vehicle owners to stop charging their automobiles to avoid brownouts.
Ha ha ha. Look, I'm not an idiot. And I don't think most people, or anyone for that matter, listening to these lectures are
Right,
idiots. And I think that you might be able to add one and one together and come up with total control. An,
right.
an EV vehicle is not for you, it's for them. It gives
That's right.
them a method to control you even more than before. Before they were manipulating things like the price of gas.
Correct.
Now
But
they're
well, back to the subject of California.
Please.
The true irony was that 2 weeks ago, California government made a public announcement saying that they will start banning all gasoline automobiles starting, what, 2030 or 2035?
Come hell or high water.
That's right. They basically pushing all the, gasoline-based or fossil fuel-based automobile owners to switch over to EV.
Right. Well, why don't they just,
As soon as there's brownouts, they tell you not to recharge your vehicle, meaning that you're literally stranded.
Yeah, well, what they do is, like if anyone asks what the WEF is going on, they can look around and they can see that it's a game where they first take away the power.
That's right.
First, they take away the coal-fired plants, the nuclear-powered plants, whatever it is.
That's
and
right.
then, instead of offering an alternative, they try to blame you for polluting, and then they say, oh, there's some kind of thing beyond our control called a brownout or a drought or a heat wave or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
In which case we're no longer resilient enough to sustain those things.
That's right.
Previous to about 1975, we were resilient. We had all the means at our disposal to take care of environmental situations. And by the way, the average temperature in the decade between 1950 and 1960 is almost exactly the same as now. There might be a 1 or 2 degree difference. Okay,
Right.
so that this is propaganda that we're being dealt here. And the whole thing about electric vehicles, EV vehicles, which by the way the governments are obviously behind because they give these huge rebates for that.
That's right.
Well, you know why? Because it's not for you, it's for them. It's the method to control you even further. And the concept of smart meters is an excellent example. There's no difference between a smart meter and a smart EV. It's just another way to keep you in your chicken coop. And not only that, it's a waste of money, and and the quality is not very good. And also, the shocking thing is that it's hypocritical because there are alternative technologies which are environmentally sustainable, are environmentally respectful, and which are far cheaper. And the only reason they don't allow them or promote them is because they give individual control. A good example is hydrogen. Hydrogen technology in compressed form can easily power even a normal internal combustion engine. It's similar to propane in a sense. You can do some modifications with the carburation, and raise the compression ratio, and you can turn any our present technology engines can burn hydrogen no problem, and the byproduct is water. That's it. And hydrogen can be obtained through electrolysis of water.
Yes.
So why are we not making massive amounts of hydrogen? Or if we don't want to do that, why aren't we just using natural gas? Compressed natural gas can be burned in internal combustion engines as well. And we have massive amounts of natural gas. Why are we not doing that? Why are we not? And instead, they're propagandizing against it. They're saying, "Oh my God, what if there was a collision and the 3-inch thick containment canister burst?" Give me a break. Gas tanks burst and blow it up into flames all the time. Propane, hydrogen, compressed natural gas, all those things are far safer because they're inside hardened containers. It's nonsense. It's garbage. We don't have to do any of this EV nonsense. If they really wanted to, they would make it like a Model T back in 1908 with Henry Ford, with a removable battery, and then of course technology, and as battery technology evolved, they would just be able to provide better and lighter or longer range batteries, right? In other words, the company owns the battery, and then you own the vehicle, and you pay a monthly fee for the battery to have it recharged. What's wrong with that system?
There's absolutely nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, it's a sage idea. So every hop when
It's
you stop
just
by,
an obvious
instead of
idea.
waiting to be recharged,
Exactly.
You ought to be able to pull into one of those
Exactly.
specialty stations where they do a battery swap, so that
Exactly.
you can get on your way.
Exactly. But they don't want that. They don't want
No.
convenience. They don't want affordability. Because you see, if you rented the battery and only bought the car, then the price would be around $15,000 or $20,000.
That's right.
And because the actual cost of the battery is half the car.
Hmm.
The car is very simple. All it is an electric motor, some brakes, and the interior. It's much cheaper to make an electric vehicle than it is to make an internal combustion vehicle. The expensive part is the battery pack. So why don't they make that exchangeable, removable? You can rent it. They can charge it. And if you're paying monthly, it's economically viable for you. And these people are. All I'm saying is the entire economic model behind EV vehicles is abusive.
It's flawed.
It's flawed, and they know it. They're doing it on purpose. It's surrounded in a cocoon of massive propaganda, and the price of these vehicles is out of reach. And not only that, you can't drive them from one province to the other. What the WEF is going on? Stop.
It's all about control. Stop.